5. The plan for today is to cross the border into Cambodia and make our way up to Phnom Penh. Made it through Vietnam and over to the Cambodian border this morning.
Maybe Uncle Don will get a phone that works in Cambodia.
Oh, I got my passports. What about your passports?
Well, I better go and get mine.
Maybe they're still at the office. Jeez, you better go back and get your passports. How did we go?
You get the passport? The interesting thing was, yes, you unlocked the 104 room, no passports. You guys are bloody setting me up, I know exactly what's going on here. And then another guy came out from the room and said, oh, yeah, your passports. Oh, here they are. And he had the 2 passports sitting there in a rubber band.
Today we would be making our first border crossing from Vietnam to Cambodia. Nowadays, immigration procedures are very simple when travelling by air, with visas on arrival available at most destinations. However, overland is a different story. Although we all had our visas, there was still some doubt as to whether they would work, without perhaps a little tea money. Although the exit and entry process took quite a while, customs and immigration staff on both sides were extremely friendly, and we soon had the necessary stamps in our passports with the minimum of hassle. This morning we were in a regular water taxi service. After about 1.5 hours cruising through the floodplains of Lower Cambodia, we could see the outline of Phnom Penh in the distance. We made our way from the Mekong to the wharf on the Tonle Sap River. After checking into the Star Royal Hotel on the riverside, we took off to do some sightseeing. In Phnom Penh, the old French influence can be clearly seen in the wide boulevards and the colonial-style buildings. Back in front of our hotel, we watched a fisherman throw as the sun set over the royal palace and its new king. We thought back to the French explorers. After leaving Saigon on June the 5th, 1866, they travelled by steam-powered gunboat first to the ruins of Angkor and then to Phnom Penh. Arriving in Phnom Penh, the explorers were summoned to the royal palace to dine with King Norodom on the night of July the 6th. We've got a very small boat. I don't know how we're going to get in because we've got a lot of luggage. However, we'll get in somehow. And we've got about 7 or 8 hours rather bumpy travel. Day 6, October the 18th. Our plan is to go from Phnom Penh all the way to Krache, some 200 kilometres upstream. We leave the Phnom Penh waterfront and are soon speeding along the Mekong once more. We pass a mosque. As we sped along, we passed local ferries. After a couple of hours, we could see the huge Japanese bridge at Kampong Cham. Made our way to a small local market. Uncle Brian was intrigued by the small cockle-like shellfish for sale. We found a small restaurant, sort of a coffee house with karaoke. We ventured into the kitchen to see Café Khmer being made in the rather dirty kitchen. The end product was strong but very refreshing.
Finished product.
On On the way back to our boat, we stopped to see the loading and departure of a cargo boat heading for Cratchay. Around 4 p.m, we pulled into the small provincial capital of Cratchay, paid off our boatman, and proceeded to the Hang Hang Hotel. No shortage of porters to carry our bags. I called a mate of mine, Mr. Saman, who works for the Partnership for Local Governance project implemented by the United Nations. He told us a little about the program to save the endangered Irrawaddy dolphins.
Find some of these dolphins.
Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
The Dolphin Centre was managed by the local community and seemed to be very well organised. We were shown to our boat by the woman chief of the Community Protection Committee and headed out into the sunset, hoping to see these rare and endangered species. Our luck was in. We saw several dolphins glide through the glistening water. Who knows how long they will survive.
Right, back to the races? Yep.
For the Cratchay to Trong Stung leg, we rented a speedy-looking longtail with a quiet-sounding motor. An hour or so we kept to the deep water that followed the right-hand bank and went due north past a series of low-technology fish farms floating by high, muddy banks. When we came to the flooded forest, we crossed to the left-hand bank. The Mekong was much more turbulent. Pete in the bow kept himself busy taking photographs and looking out for a favourable lunch spot. We found a sandy beach on a small island with only a fish farm for neighbours. Above our picnic spot, a hand-painted sign showed the Mekong dolphins were protected in this area. Just before sunset, we hauled into Stung Trang.
On the morning of day 8, Saturday the 23rd of October, we strolled around the busy market town of Stung Trang. This was a very important day for the uncles. Today, we would cross into Laos. My good mate Warren Hoy, based in the southern Lao town of Savannakhet, had been providing us with the best available information concerning the state of the river and the availability of boats. However, we were really venturing into the unknown.
Okay,
G'day lad, what have you got?
okay, we've got a couple of emails here, and
Yeah.
one of them is from your mate Warren.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
just read it out.
yeah.
A dirty great big hole has appeared in the Kong. So, I don't know sure what that's going to mean. Some boats available in Paksay for rent. Oh, I will see if the garlic boat from Sawan will risk the rocks to pick you up in Paksay.
It's about 50 k's from Stung Trang to the Lao border, and we are travelling by fast boat. Talk about a fast boat. This was incredible. A real speedboat with 4-stroke petrol Toyota engine and long-tail propeller, but also a real adrenaline buzz as we flew across the water at 50 k's per hour. This part of the Mekong was very braided, and we travelled through flooded forest, zooming through trees and rocks, in and out of the wider channels and islands. We were all happy to leave the fast boat at the border crossing of Don Kralor. 1 hour was quite enough, thank you. And now for our next hurdle. There had been uncertainty as to whether we would be able to legally leave Cambodia here. After clearing immigration on the Laos side at Vuan Kham, we managed to get a local boat to take us the 10 kilometres upstream to the Sipan Don. Literally translated, this means 4,000 islands. Here the Mekong widens up to 10 kilometres and the river is full of beautiful, lush, tropical islands. It took us a bit of time to work out that we were on Cone Island. It is also here that we have the Cone Prapang waterfalls. As the French explorers found out, there is no possibility of travel by boat. and we were forced to hire motorcycles for the 4-kilometre trip to the north of Don Det Island. Khon Prapeng Falls are quite awesome. They are the biggest in Asia in terms of total area, being over 1 kilometre wide and with a fall of about 15 metres. Although there are no long vertical drops, the huge volume of water surging through the narrow rocky channels and ravines is quite spectacular. It is a huge natural obstacle to any river transport, and the French explorers must have been really upset when they reached here in 1866. In one of the still shallow pools beneath the falls, we found a small canoe. We reckoned that this was about the size of boat the French would have used in 1866. With the boat still firmly tied up to a bush, we took on the roles of Garnier and Lagree, trying in vain to battle through the rapids. They sure were courageous guys, and fools as well. Incredibly, following the French expedition, the French still believed in the Mekong as a transport route. A French company built a railway around the falls and over a bridge that still links Khon Island with Don Det Island. We stopped to look at the small locomotive and old boiler which sit rusting away in the lush tropical jungle. It was mid-afternoon when we had our first lesson in the Lao lifestyle, very slow and very unpredictable. The motorcycle drivers took us to their guest house on Khon Island, because that's where all the Farungs go. We wanted to go to the north, where we could catch a boat to our next major destination, Champasak. After much discussion and a lot of growling from the uncles and smiling by the Laos, we finally were on our way again. After about 20 minutes, we arrived at the Don Det guest house. On the
We now?
We are Don Det. We are in Don Det. Yeah, Don Det.
Down there, and then we go.
Take the boat up
Then we
to
go
the
to the boat?
Kong, yeah.
We met the owner of the guest house, and that's when we had our second lesson in Lao lifestyle. You can never count on what you hear. It all happened when Uncle Brian tried to find out about the boat north. We heard so many stories and were totally confused. It was not exactly lying,